Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Finally got my chance to edit and upload this video for the card I had made for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge. I have just had technical difficulties one after another. So, I sat down the other night and wanted to play a little bit more with alcohol inks. I didn't end up doing anything new than what I've already shown on my channel. But if you haven't checked out Jennifer McGuire's channel, I highly recommend it because she shows a ton of different techniques and ideas using alcohol inks. I still need to watch her latest video. So many fun ideas. But for my card today, I kept it really simple. I just took a piece of Yupo paper and I cut it in half because I only need a small amount. And then I was testing out a couple different colors here just to see what I was going to prefer for my little background, and ended up settling on just the pool color of alcohol ink. And I'm not doing anything fancy whatsoever. I actually need to swatch all my alcohol inks so I can, that way I can flip through them and see at a glance what color, I want to use, etc. It's on my list of things to do and organize. So I'm working on top of a glass mat here. I much prefer working on a glass mat when using alcohol inks because it's so much easier to clean up. You can use, some hand sanitizer, some rubbing alcohol, wipe off the glass mat, we're good to go. And yes, Tim Holtz and Tonic are releasing this amazing glass crafting mat. It comes out in March, I think. So I'm really excited for it. I do have it pre-ordered. I will be sure to show it when it gets here, but that's going to be a couple months away. So for now, I'm just using my little glass cutting mat here. And I was just dropping the inks directly onto, or the ink. I only used the pool ink and the silver mixative. And then I would add the alcohol blending solution to my little felt piece that I'd cut down. Again, there's going to be smaller round felts. Those are coming out soon as well. But for now, I just have the rectangle ones, so I trim those down. So I just dropped the ink and the mixative, and then I was adding the blending solution and just kind of moving the inks around, just kind of dabbing at it basically is all I was doing. And even this little scrap piece, I would add some of the ink and the blending solution to that, and it's hard to tell on camera, but same thing, I was just kind of dabbing it and just moving the ink around. Nothing too fancy, not really creating any sort of like stripes or patterns or anything like that. Just keeping it fairly simple. I like the texture this creates. So I just wanted a simple textured background with this color and then that silver added in, because the color challenge this week was kind of a pool color, aqua color, and then gray and orange. So we can always add in some neutrals, and of course metallics are always a good thing. So I set that aside, and then for my actual shaker like card front, I have some white cardstock here. And the Elle Hutson Strands wafer die, that's the smaller die. And then the larger one is an MFT A2 stitched rectangle, or A2 rectangle. The largest one from the second set. I'll have that linked with the rest of the supplies. So I ran those through at the same time to create my card front. It's got this fun little window. And then all those leftover like wavy white cardstock pieces, I'm just going to save those for future projects because they work perfect. You can like leave them as is white. They could be little snow drifts, or you could, sponge ink onto them, make them little water drifts, whatever works. So I'll save those with that actual die. And then for my shaker here, I need to back this white cardstock with some acetate. So I have these transparencies. People ask which ones I use. When it comes to shaker cards, more often than not, I just use these. These are just overhead transparencies that I got a box of off of Amazon forever, like years and years and years ago. I usually try to link to them when I remember. And it's just a box of 3M overhead transparencies, and it's a box of 100, so they will last you pretty much for the rest of your life unless you make shaker cards like 3 times a day. So that's what I use. So I trim that down to smaller than the cardstock. And then for my main image, I'm using the Swale stamp set again. I used this a couple weeks ago for the Elle Hutson release, and it's the cutest set. So the colors were perfect for, this set and the challenge and everything. So I stamped this one whale onto this scrap of distress watercolor paper, just onto the smooth side of that. And I had heat embossed it with some silver embossing powder. And then while I had everything out, I'm also going to stamp a sentiment from the set onto the card front with VersaMark, and I'm going to emboss it with that same embossing powder. So I just stamped that after using my anti-static powder tool, coated it with the embossing powder, and then I'm going to melt that with my heat tool. And then once I've got that melted, I can color in my whale here. And I still have my little ceramic palette. I had it sitting on my desk from a previous card I'd made it a few days ago. And I have this Daniel Smith neutral tint watercolor in it that has dried out, but I'm just reactivating it with my little water brush here, and very simple watercoloring. Literally just applying a thin layer of the color and then darkening it up a bit and adding a second layer, and then just adding a little bit of the darker watercolor here and there just to give it a little bit of texture and definition. But very simple, quick, easy, and it's done. So I can always leave, like watercolors like this, you can just leave them in your palette and reactivate till you've completely used them up. So that's what I'm going to do since I have quite a big blob of that neutral tint. So after everything dried, I'm going to run this through my die cut machine with the coordinating die so that it is die cut. And then for the background, I did a bit more experimenting. I was just curious to see if I could stamp on this alcohol ink background with some hybrid inks. This is MFT's Tangy Orange Hybrid Ink. And hybrid ink can stamp on multiple non-porous surfaces. Like you can stamp on glass, acetate, etc. with it. You just try to have a steady hand because it likes to slip around. Like this Yupo paper, obviously, again, isn't paper. It's a plastic type of a product. So I knew it wouldn't turn out perfectly because I'm stamping orange on top of blue, but I wanted to stamp these school of fish just to kind of have them there, like, you know, the hint of them. And then while I was doing that, I also stamped the card front with these fish so that it's a little more obvious. So I would just ink up the stamp it, and then sometimes stamp it repeatedly without inking and getting, you know, second and third generations of that ink. So I'd have lighter shades and darker shades, all with this one hybrid ink. So after I was done stamping all of these little fish on the background, I'm just going to flip this over and tape the acetate into place on the back. So I'm just running my little Xyron tape runner all around the perimeter here of the opening so I can press that acetate into place. And then that's going to create my little window. I don't worry about those little like strand pieces in the center. Those don't need to be adhered down. It's fine. And then for the stamping on the alcohol ink paper, I want to heat set that because hybrid inks do need to be heat set on non-porous surfaces. I do keep my heat tool really moving and I don't let it sit in one spot because I'm pretty sure it's going to melt the Yupo paper. I've never heat set anything on it. I don't even know if it's recommended. It worked, but I don't recommend obviously keeping your heat tool like focused on it because it's either going to burn or melt or I don't know. But it worked anyway, so I might have to experiment down the road, like stamping other things on it. Who knows? But it worked. So I trimmed down the Yupo paper to the size I wanted and trim off that little bit of the top that I was experimenting on. And then to make my actual like shaker element, I've got some 3M foam tape here. And I just took a good long length of it and doubled it up because it just saves the time of having to go around and doing this twice. If you really want your shaker elements to shake, you could triple your foam tape. I rarely do that though because it makes it like a lot more bulky. But 2 layers of foam tape is generally like good. If you really want to use bulky elements or you really want things to move around, then you could do 3. But I just went along and added all my foam tape. And then I filled up the window with some Pretty Pink Posh metallic silver confetti, some Pretty Pink Posh tangerine sequins, and some ocean spray sequins, just in the kind of the colors of this color challenge. So just sprinkled some of those in there. And then I'm going to peel off the foam tape here, and then I'm going to press my alcohol inked background into place, and that's going to seal in that entire little shaker element. So once I've got that pressed in, now you can see the actual like fun little shaker card. So I've got that, and then I need to actually do my card base, which is some MFT cement gray cardstock cut to 4 1/4 by 11 inches and then scored at 5 1/2. So once I've got that done, it's an A2 sized card, and opened up the card, and on the inside I decided to stamp and emboss another sentiment from the set, which on camera and in pictures, it's really difficult to read, but in real life, the metallic embossing catches the light and you can actually read it. It says "Get Whale Soon." I love the punny sentiments. I just think they're hilarious. So I stamped the sentiment with the VersaMark ink and embossed it with the silver embossing and powder. And then after I had done that, I ended up stamping the whale again, just with the VersaMark ink, just to kind of, create a little fun little scene on the inside of the card. So I stamped that in the VersaMark ink and then decided to stamp the little school of fish again with that tangy orange ink, just here and there, just to completely finish off the inside of the card. And doing the same thing, I would, you know, stamp the image and then stamp it again without re-inking it. So I'd get the second generation, so you get the lighter and the darker with the one ink. And then I'm going to adhere my card front here into place. And then I'm going to adhere the whale that I had, you know, embossed and watercolored with some more of that Xyron tape runner. So I'm just going to apply that to the back of my little whale here. And then I can press that into place, and that's going to finish off my card. So now I've got this fun little alcohol inked background shaker card. You can, it's always fun to hear the little, you know, shaker element. And that is my card for this week's Color Throwdown Challenge. So I will have a link to the challenge on my blog post, and everything will be linked in the description box below the video. So you can check that out if you're interested. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye!